Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming in this afternoon. It's exactly 1:05. Just for the viewing public, this is an informal meeting that was requested by the CNMI Chamber of Commerce members and also by the HANMI Hotel Association of the Northern Mariana Islands. And so this afternoon basically is to have a conversation regarding the issues that we are facing with our economy, our tourism, the lack of airlines, lack of tourists, and many other pressing issues that are not foreign to us, has been discussed in prior years during 902 consultations. And moving forward today, some new developments have happened that we all need to discuss and find a solution that will address the needs of our economy and hopefully moving forward with respect to the 902 consultation that the governor is organizing for sometime in January 2024, that these conversations will help assist, accelerate some of the interests and concerns, and hopefully whoever the team is for the Commonwealth that will go to Washington with the governor will be able to articulate the issues that are facing the Commonwealth and that we could find a solution, hopefully, that would address the needs of our economy so that we can all survive what we are facing today. Thank you very much. To this afternoon, joining us on Zoom is Senator Jude Hofschneider Ontinian. We have Senator Corina Magofnia joining us this afternoon too, and Senator Cruz from Tinian is also joining us in person. Senator Carr won't be able to join us. He's excused. Senator Paul and Senator Selena is on leave right now. Senator Dennis, we are also waiting for him. Hopefully he can join us. Again, it's an informal meeting, so it's not mandatory that senators show up. But thank you very much, senators, for coming in this afternoon. And so we're open. I'll open the floor to the chamber president, Mr. Guerrero. You can do the opening remarks and introduce your panel, your members, and for any other person part of the team of the private sector industry, you're more welcome to come up and have a seat with us at the table. Thank you. Mr. Guerrero, proceed.
Jesus Masi. Half days in Tirawami, Senora Senate President De Leon Guerrero, ni member siya, Senator Magofnia and Senator Cruz. Finina Feliz Pascua and Feliz Ano Nuevo. Pwede isti mamala nasakan umas klaro afa para tamano ta pursue isti ekonomiata, no? Thank you, Senate President, for having the Saipan Chamber of Commerce before you. You and I, as well as the Hotel Association of the Northern Mariana Islands, where we come together jointly to share with you information that we have from the industry and perhaps discuss some of our most recent letters to your office on some suggestions that we are offering to help us navigate through these complex issues. But before I move on, for the record, I'm Joe Guerrero, the president of the Saipan Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, but I'm not here in my personal capacity. I stand here on behalf of my over 140 members, businesses, nonprofits, as well as government entities that choose to be a member of the Saipan Chamber of Commerce. And why they choose to be a member of the Saipan Chamber of Commerce is so that we can be a voice for them. There are quite a few businesses that call me passionately about issues in our Commonwealth, and so I speak on their behalf. I shall not name their names. So these are businesses that we're all very familiar with. And so they ask for anonymity. And so some of what I will share today is not coming from me personally. This is coming from our members. Business is down. As we all know, COVID hit us hard, and then Typhoon U2 before that. And we still have not recovered, to say the least. And, as the tourism market was opening up, we had hoped that things would go back to at least the way we knew it pre-pandemic with, our source markets. And so having the change of plan by the administration, we respect his decision. We understand his decision, but we're here to discuss and really create a dialogue and understand how we can move forward. At the end of the day, it's we need to move forward, whether it's this market or that market. So no one's pro this market or pro that market. We're just pro a market. And I think that has to be clear, right? And we are we are where the rubber hits the road. We pay the taxes that we all rely on for government services, and so we see. I own a small business. I see my BGRT going down. I mean, I kind of like it that I'm paying less, but that means that I have less sales. So it's not a good feeling. And everyone else that I talk to out in the industry, both small mom and pops, even those that are not members of the chamber, from retail stores to laundromats to just about every industry is down, and are looking for some sort of hope. So we have uh, presented some letters, and maybe I'll leave it to the senators to ask questions about some of our suggestions, which we had offered. Some of them, our suggestions was to pursue or at least encourage the promulgation of the Economic Vitality and Security Travel Authorization Program, known as the EVS TAP, and that's been in the news lately. But there are other things, perhaps that are on the table that would mitigate some of the concerns put forth by the administration and other stakeholders. For one, maybe we should consider not allowing CWs from people from the PRC. For example, if that's a concern that maybe they're coming in here and then maybe doing some other activities that are not allowed, maybe that's one way to stop those activities from occurring. Improving the enforcement of our sea borders. Maybe we need to call for our boating safety in collaboration with federal partners to make sure that every boat that leaves our port, has authority to pass our waters and make sure they don't get to Guam. And so these are things that are not far off suggestions. I think they're practical, but I think they need support from the Senate and the House and our leadership in general to move forward. So I'll end with that. We have statements from the Hotel Association of the Northern Marianas. I have with Dennis. He's the chair of the board, Dennis Seo. I have to my right Joshua Weiss. He's vice president of the chamber board and also representing PHI Pharmacy. And then we have to my far right is Roman Tudela Jr., vice president, right, of the Society for Human Resource Management, known as SHRM. So maybe I'll go ahead and open the floor to Dennis if you wanted to read your statement.
First of all, thank you for taking out of your thank you for your time out of a busy schedule. Uh, all right. Thank you for your time for today. And I'm the Dennis Seo and the chairman, acting chairman of the HANMI as a vice chair. Today, I have the BOD of the HANMI today and several couple of the hotel membership and some allied members here as well. And we also have some sports marine operator, to have their opinion as well. Um, I have prepared, something, before we moving on. If you're ready, then can you just play it? Can you put it on the TV? I just wanted to let you know that how we are suffering, because we believe, HANMI is the major player of the CNMI economy. But we, for some reason now, you know, we are, having pretty much, difficult time and challenges. So I just wanted to first share how we are, where we are at. So next page, please. Um, yes, that's it. 94 versus 18. I would like if you can guess what this number is. Then next page, please. 49 versus 18. Let's try to guess together. Yes. 2017, on a weekly basis, there were 94 the passenger flight. However, for now, we have only weekly basis. This is as of December of the each year. 2017, 94, 2019, 49. Then December 2023, we have only 18 international passenger flight coming in. So comparing to 2017, it's only one fifth. And comparing to 2019, is only one third. So this tell us how hotel they may pick up their sales because limited number of flight, which means that the passenger seat is also limited, meaning that hotel they do strive to pick up the more sales, but that is limited. Whatever we make, effort or initiative, that's the total pie what we can bring here, right? So next page, please. And this is, already published at the MBA GMM last month. So following page, please. Yeah, this page shows like a level comparing to because 2017 was highest and the healthiest year before pandemic COVID-19, and it shows fiscal year 2023 only 194,000 arrivals, which is compared to 2017 only 30%. And comparing to 2019, just before COVID-19, only 46%, because we have only one sole market, which is Korean. That's why even if we making a lot of effort and initiative, but still we are at only 36% comparing to 2019. The next page, please. I wanted to share this, HANMI's performance comparing to 2017. As I say, 2017 was the healthiest year before COVID-19, right? And 2019, right before the COVID-19. So if you look at the HANMI's performance for 2023, the hotel occupancy is showing how, we are great or where we are at. Only 38%, let's just say 39%. However, we have to consider there are so many, the guest house and the Airbnb. So if we put this number across of the island, I may say it's like between 30 to 35% of the hotel occupancy.
Just hold your thought on that, just on the numbers. Can you tell the story on the room availability on 2019 year to date, 864,000, and then 2023, it dropped to 758.
Because it depends on the number of days first. That is, it depends on the number of HANMI's hotel reporting this report. As I said, 2017 was 11 hotel. 2019 there were 11 or 12. It's different reporting number of the hotel by the month. And the 2023 11. However, as we know, Kanwa Hotel is not closed, right? So that's why the number of room inventory is less than before. All right, the next, please. And tax contribution. Comparing to 2018, it's just because, as I said, HANMI is a key player, major player of the CNMI economy, and our contribution to local government comparing to 2019 only 42% and 38% respectively, 2019 and 2017. So even if we have more, arrivals and more flight coming in, the portion what we can contribute to the local government is greater. However, for some reason, we have only, the primary market, Korean market only for now. And if we have a more flight with a diverse market, then the tax contribution, what we can do is bigger than that, right? So the point is that if we have a more chance to bring the more diversity here, based on the the diverse market, then our role as a HANMI, as a a taxpayer, and the proportion what we can contribute gonna be bigger. And then following page, please. Following page shows the employment contribution in the local. Sorry. Um, I know that even if 11 hotels now open the door, they are not really open or operate full services because they have to think about their operation expense and the cost, which is increasing the labor cost as well. So with current market the pie, we are able to hire up to 1,300 the employees so far. However, it used to be 1,900 in 2017 and 2019. So if we have a more diversity of the market, tourism market, then our contribution to the local economic greater. However, for some reason, we are now highly dependent on only the Korean market only, and there are some limited number of passengers. So if hotel again they are making a lot of effort and initiative to bring the more uh, the tourists, but there's a cap because we have only 18 flights, international flights coming from Korea only, and plus, of course, some couple of flight on a weekly basis from the the Japan. So, for example, one hotel, there's a one hotel whose the bottom line in the financial statement is minus $200,000 only for the November. And which hotel, that hotel leading the market this year in terms of the occupancy. However, again, even though this hotel leading the market as a number one in terms of hotel occupancy, but they are still bleeding. Their bottom line is $200,000 only for the November. Then the question is here: that without any support or then how many months longer can we survive here? Then we have to look the number of staffing here as well because business is slow. Then we are not able to accommodate even the current number of staffing. We may have to revisit our operation plan to cut the working hours or minimize the number of staffing because loss is getting bigger. It's not only 1 month. It's throughout the year. All the hotels, even if they are open, but if we look at their inside, they are bleeding. We are really supporting from financially. So that's why the point is that we need a market diverse. We need something we can generate the revenue. We need a market, and at the same time, because there's if even if there's a market, then if you don't have any flights coming in, then useless, right? So at the same time, we should have the international passenger flights coming in. Yeah. All right.
Okay, so members, if you have any comments or question, go ahead and interject yourself, and I'll recognize you. Holding the thought on market diversification, and as we all know, that oftentimes the narrative is pivoting away from China, moving into military tourism of that nature. Without, again, it's an informal meeting, but I think this is where a good conversation can happen with respect to when we're talking about market diversification and improving our tourism numbers, and which market can we focus on and bring in so that we can all be looking at potential increase in numbers of visitors to the Commonwealth with everything that's going on. Let's strike a conversation on the flights from Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan for now. Again, I understand the narrative. Everybody has read that consistently and constantly on the local papers, but at the same time, there's also conversations on the Japan market, increasing that number, hyping marketing efforts from the Visitors Authority, attending all of those trade shows and things like that. Market from tourists from Hong Kong, Taiwan, for example, most recent visit by the administration with a group of elected officials um, from the House and one from the Senate that went to Taiwan. And I like to, would like to hear from your perspective of the viability of those markets in comparison to what we are also going to be talking further into the conversation regarding the China market and how a chunk of that has been taken out of the tourism economy as a result of everything that has happened. So the floor is open. Whoever wants to chime in on the conversation.
Senate President, if I may. First, I was remiss in not recognizing Honorable Senator from the Second Senatorial District, Senator Jude Hofschneider, when I recognized the others earlier. Dispensa. Uh, so, with regard to the various markets, we'll just go one by one, not in no particular order of importance, but the military tourism. I had a chance to speak with the military welfare and recreation group. The sort of like they call themselves the travel agency for the military. They're inside the fence and they help offer recreation and travel packages for military personnel in Guam in particular. The office that I met with, and so I asked him like, what is like the best case scenario for military tourism, and he said, well, we have about 5,000 regular sort of customers that travel through these packages that are sort of prearranged or pre-vetted. So I say, well, out of 5,000, how many do you think will want to come to the cinema? And said maybe at most 10%, because out of those 5,000, they're offering packages from everywhere, travel to Seoul, travel to Palau. So he said we cannot force them on where to travel or steer them. We just say these are the packages. Do you want to go to weekend in Seoul, in Japan? And so oftentimes these personnel opt, because they've never been to Asia, they opt to go to Seoul and other places, Hong Kong, because it's their chance, right, while they're out here on deployment. They're not interested, unfortunately, in coming to the cinema because it's just another, to them, it's just another Guam. And maybe they may come here just to unplug a little bit because it's a slower pace, but that's coming from them. I'm not making this up. They told me that, so what we need to do is, they said, it's just offer more packages, maybe more sports or historical packages. But he said it's not going to be this big windfall that we had all hoped for. So that's the military tourism. That's not including the ships. I don't know anything about ship visits and how reliable those are. Then, with regard to Taiwan, I've had many conversations. The numbers are what it is in Guam. I think their best year of Taiwan visitors. And there's a footnote to that word visitors from Taiwan is about 20,000 in 1 year. But out of that 20,000, it is estimated that a majority are Taiwan residents that are living in Guam and traveling. So they're not tourists, new tourists coming into Guam. These are Taiwan residents or the Guam residents that are going back and forth. So that number is kind of hard to rely on. So even if we were to, I doubt we'll beat Guam in terms of 20,000. That market is not big. We wish it were big, and we applaud the governor for going out to Taiwan. We need all the markets, as many markets to diversify. And so we applaud him for that. And what was your third? Sorry, Senator. Japan,
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. Yeah, Hong Kong is like another China. Really. Hong Kong. I mean, it's supply and demand. These same tourists, potential tourists from Hong Kong can travel around the world. They're affluent in nature, so they, again, we're competing against every exotic destination around the world. And so again, it's going to be fierce competition. The Hong Kong Airlines has expressed interest to CPA and others that they're willing to come back, but I don't think it's going to be. We don't believe that it's going to be this big replacement for our biggest market, which was the China market before the pandemic. Then with regard to Japan, speaking with the DFS marketing manager for Japan recently, and he shared that Japan is in a very difficult situation. They're not going to Hawaii was their number one destination, and they're not traveling there. They're not traveling in droves to Guam as well. Guam is just the same, struggling with Japan arrivals. Of course, they have more than the CNMI, relatively speaking, but they're still struggling. Their numbers are way low, below their expectations, in part because of the strong U.S. dollar. And if you follow the currency exchange rate, it's very expensive for a Japanese tourist to come to the CNMI. And those that do have high disposable income are not choosing to come to the CNMI for various reasons. They're choosing to go elsewhere, maybe US mainland and other more sort of advanced destinations. So Japan market is not expected in the next year or 2 or 3 years to bounce back the way we want it to. And all the industry experts are hopeful, but it's not something that we can rely on, that the Japanese market will replace the once vibrant market from China, for example.
Thank you for that. Most recently, I was reading an article, and it was on I believe it's called the Hensley Passport Index, if I'm not mistaken. I stand to be corrected on that. The most traveled passport is Singapore. And then just recently, I read an article about, and I'm going to lean towards Palau, how they have, got an agreement with Singapore, and flights are going into Palau, direct flights from Singapore. Most recent is direct flights from Fiji, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, to Palau. Now, let's swing into a comparison of market of travelers, of Singaporeans, and that of the Chinese tourist customer. For purposes of focusing our conversation in our region, which is the CNMI, of how can we address the issue of the lack of tourists and to fill that gap that we lost from the Chinese market, using Singapore and Chinese as a comparison, what would be the most advantageous market for the CNMI to go after to fill the gap between the two markets, just as a comparison?
Um, I'm not a subject matter expert, so if any one of my colleagues would like
And
to
let
speak.
me just kind of like give a
Go ahead.
reason why I asked that kind of question is because, again, the narrative of pivoting away from China. And we're building all of this moving forward into January on the 902 consultation, and reading all the letters from the association and building the reasons why we're pushing for this, and the reasons why we're having a conversation regarding the potential removal of the parole in place visa, correct? And now subsequently waiting for Homeland Security to approve what is sitting right now to be promulgated into the regulations, if I'm not mistaken, on the EVS TAP program, correct?
Yeah.
And so that's the reason why I kind of framed that question in that fashion, to project that rationale between why the push for the China market, why is that very essential for the Commonwealth in comparison to all the other markets that we are also pursuing, and what would be the most that would turn quicker for the Commonwealth to recover on this great loss of revenue with respect to the tourism sector.
Thank you for that. So, in drawing on my conversations with Chris Concepcion of the Marianas Visitors Authority, and I asked him a similar question, not in exact words, but why this market and why not that market? He said they are constantly looking at every possible market, especially those that are within the 3 to 5 hour flight to our area, because that's our niche: short flight times, very minimal difference in time zone, and we're a tropical destination. So, and he said if there was a demand from Singapore, they'll be here already. They'll be knocking on the doors. And so that leads me to believe that perhaps the what we're offering here is not what the the majority of Singaporean travelers are looking for. Right? That's one. And then just numbers wise, Singapore is a very affluent but very international market. And again, these are jet setters or private jets. Maybe we're not the product for them in general. But China, if, as you've asked me to respond, China is such a huge market that we only need 1%, to make an analogy, 1% of 1% of 1%, and it's still a lot for us. They're traveling all around the world, and we were one of the approved destination. The Chinese government, as you know, right, puts a list together and where they allow their people to freely travel to. And we are one of hundreds of countries in the world, and we're one of the select few because we're close to their country, and their people have asked to come here. So I hope I answer your question. I think it's because we offer something that the Chinese visitor, just like with the Korean visitors, like sun, fresh air, clean environment, and very close to their country. So I hope I answered that. Okay.
Thank you for that. I see
Sen-
somebody raising his hand on the back. You can please come up and identify yourself, share with us more additional information. You can take a seat. Thank you.
Let me chime in. In terms of the Taiwan market, that was a good gesture. I believe, the effort, expanding, another market. But if we look at only the labor, the Guam, they have annual 25,000 Taiwanese travelers from there. Then 25,000 annually, 25,000. That's immaterial. For example, my property. I'm the GM of the PIC and acting chair. But if you look at my property only, 25,000 people. I have 32,000 people a month. So as I said, is in order to replace the CPL market, we should have that much big pie. And speaking of Taiwan, it's island, and even the Singapore island, as Joe stated, we may not the destination they may seek. However, the people in the CPR, I mean, up there, they really wanted to see the ocean, because they are basically staying in the domestic, so they don't have much chance to see the ocean. That's why that is one of our edges as a tourist destination. So uh, if we are looking at the same number of arrival of Taiwan, just like Guam, that doesn't really help our economy here. As I said, 32,000 arrivals, that is only for 1 month for the PIC Saipan only. So, and Singapore, I'm not sure, I don't much know, but what I guess is that Singapore and Malaysia, they wanted to travel some more developed country. So speaking of infrastructure, then are we ready to accommodate them, or just like Korean people? Because cinema is a very well known destination for the family market, and even not sure if the Singapore or Malaysia, or they are looking at us as just like Korean tourists. As I said, the interest or what they are looking at as a tourist might be pretty much different from the China nationals, or Korean. So I agree with what Joe speak.
I'm curious to know, and I'll get to you. You mentioned the cinema is known to be a family market, and
For
and
Korean.
or Korean. Okay, Korean. So I'm not sure whether you could share the data, the percentage of the visitors that are coming in to the Commonwealth.
Yeah, I believe
What would be
the
that number in terms, just so that we could understand also the marketing efforts with
um,
respect to tourists coming into the Commonwealth, us being known as a family market?
I would say because if we have MBA, the annual report, we can see the clearly the ratio. I believe it's close to or a little higher than 70%. So if 10 are live here, then out of 10, 7 are families, right? And the three are like individual or couple, right? I'm just speaking of a Korean market.
All right, thank you very much. And sir, you can go ahead and please identify yourself and the company you're representing.
My name is Clayton Darlington, so I'm the new general manager at the Crown Plaza Resort. I've been in Saipan now for 2 months, so I know everyone sitting in this room has got a longer history and actually seen where we've been in the last 4 years. And I've only been here 2 months. But what I can say is we look at markets around the world, they are doing numbers that they've never seen before. Fiji are doing numbers that they've never seen before, 120% pre-COVID levels. So the pandemic is no longer an excuse for any tourist destination. Those days are gone. We've got markets around the world that are doing numbers they have not seen before. Intercontinental Hotels Group, we've got 5,400 hotels around the world. Hotels in Vietnam, Singapore, Korea, Japan are doing numbers from Korean tourists that they've never seen before, record numbers. We talk about the China market, how big it is, and it's not only big for the CNMI. Many markets out there, it's big. New Zealand, where I was previously based, without China, tourism is a big struggle. Australia, without China, tourism can be a big struggle. Fiji are focusing on China at the moment. They out there. They're pushing their island, and that's why they now got an additional carrier partnered with Fiji Airways to cope with the demand that's coming in, not only from China, but even the United States. You walk down Times Square, all you see is Fiji. They're all out there, and I look at when I was based in New Zealand, we came out of the pandemic, strict COVID protocols, and the borders were closed for a very long time. When we needed to turn back tourism, we went China, and we were able to pick up the phone call, put a few specials out there. The flights were back in weeks. The room nights were back in weeks. So I think it's important, and it's a good conversation. What are the key markets? We don't want to rely, we don't want all our eggs in two baskets, right? We do want more than one option in terms of who are our key markets, but that's a long road. We've got a long way to build these key markets. We don't have an initial. If we had an immediate solution, we wouldn't be here, right? So we got a long way to go. And we talk Singapore. What I can say about the Singapore traveler, we've got a lot of work to do if we want to be attractive to a Singaporean. They know what they want. They expect it fast. They expect it at high levels of quality and details. And I think that's great. And we should aspire to bring that market into this beautiful island. But we've got a long way to go. They've got destinations around there that's a lot more accessible to them. It's at the click of their fingertips. They've got options in terms of luxury travel. I think it is a key market and it will be great, but it's not our immediate silver bullet that we need, in my opinion.
Thank you for sharing that information. I appreciate. I noticed you have an accent, and then that's nice. But you did mention two specific markets, New Zealand and Australia, that without the Chinese, it's a struggle. And so that brought a question to mind about, with respect to their economies. And again, we're focusing on the Chinese market here, the need for the CNMI with this whole conversation this afternoon. But I wanted to see whether there's any correlation with Chinese investments in New Zealand and Australia with that of the numbers of tourists traveling to those two countries?
Yeah, I think in New Zealand, in particular, there is a big business relationship with the Chinese, or with China, and that's a key relationship. And obviously, look, I don't want to get too political, but they do try and take a very uh, I don't want to say sitting on the fence, but a very neutral approach, because uh, China, the relationship with New Zealand is very important, but the relationship New Zealand has with the United States is just as important. So, they've got to balance those two. And yeah, the amount of business in New Zealand from China is quite big. If that answers your question.
And why I bring that up in the conversation, because obviously in our situation here, it's not so much comparable to New Zealand market with comparing the infusion of investments from China into those two countries, and having them parallel with the number of visitors from the same country that is heavily vested in the countries, right? Here in the CNMI is that our main economy is tourism, and that is the tourists coming in, and seeing the data from prior numbers of how the Chinese market had a huge chunk in our economy, and you got Korean market, and then you also got the Japanese market. But then that particular market chunk is gone, basically, and that left us a huge hole, a huge gap in our economy with respect to generating revenues, and sharing the data of HANMI with the down, the fall of occupancy, the numbers, the bookings, and things like that. And then the tax collection obviously affects the Commonwealth as well with respect to the hot tax. And then that's all of those play into the dilemma that we're all facing today. And so it just puts us into this particular focus conversation this afternoon, where we're going to move into now with the letters from HANMI, joint letter from HANMI and the Chamber with respect to the the visa waiver program automation and electronic travel authorization creation of the CNMI Economic Vitality and Security Travel Authorization Program. And I'm reading the recommendations, and the Senate, I mean the Chamber President had mentioned earlier about not allowing the CW ones to be included under, or the Chinese nationals to be included under the CW1 program, and primarily to parallel that with the H2B program of listing of countries. And it's true. I recently just printed out the latest printing from Homeland Security update of November 8, 2023. And the People's Republic of China is not listed on the H2B listing of qualified countries for importation of workers. And so I see that that is one of the strong recommendations of the association, correct, on the letter.
Yes, and that was sort of recommended to address the concerns that there were stories of people coming in from the PRC under CW1 and then opening up their businesses or doing other activities because they're here for a whole year. So, if the concern is kind of long staying PRC nationals doing other things other than tourists or illicit activity, then maybe we should consider not having them come here so freely to work.
And I can share that that sentiment, because everybody knows I was the former labor secretary, and at the time period there was a lot of concerns about the quota being reached because no other employers can process through with their CW ones, because we have maxed out the allocation within that given fiscal year. So that's quite obvious that in this regard right now, as we speak today, that it kind of, not kind of, but it justifies the reason why the removal of allowing that particular group to not be processed under CW1 and restricted to a pattern it under the H2B program. I see the point.
If I might just add, touch on earlier about sort of the balancing act. So, in the 1980s, the U.S. Congress had a concern that the Japanese, right, our big ally, the Japanese were exerting great economic influence. They were buying real estate everywhere from New York. They owned big parts of New York, L.A., Hawaii, and even the Sinai. So the U.S. Congress was concerned that Japanese were getting too entrenched into our nation. So they created this review Risk Review Act. And in 2018, Congress modernized that act. It's called the Committee on Foreign Investment, the United States. It's called the Foreign Investment Risk Review Modernization Act. And so, what that allows for in general is for any state to vet investors through this committee and say, do a background check on them. Are they a threat? And so this is particularly useful in places where they have a lot of US installations, like particular Guam. And so, again, this is already in the books. It's an actual function of the executive branch that can review Chinese investment. So perhaps maybe we can ask that all investment, small or big, because we're in sort of the tip of the spear, the hot zone, that they get vetted. And if they're approved, then the US has done their job in making sure that there are no bad, you know, businesses from China trying to set foot in the CNMI. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to make a comment? Okay. Senators, if you have anything to talk about, please join in the conversation. Senator Cruz, would you like to say something?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. You want to take?
Go ahead.
And Mr. Guerrero and Chamber of Commerce and the Hotel Association, thank you for coming by and sharing with us what's happening. I think this is very critical. I understand that tourism is one of the that drive or brings revenue to our economy, and I understand that Chinese market is also very important. I know that we lose Japanese market, and I remember back then 2016, 2017, and I shared this back then with high officials, MVA, that the Japanese consul visited me. I think he visited all the elected official here. Maybe some are there to hear the consul's thought and in regards to Japanese business community here in the cinema. And I know that complaints from the business community is very critical. That when Chinese market comes in, we forgot about the Japanese business community, and I share with them to bring this to the attention of all elected officials, including MVA, so that we will not lose Japanese market. And I think even the Japanese market are not. You mentioned it's not gonna happen in 1, 2, or 3 years, but I think it's important that we, everyone should be involved and maybe sitting down with the Japanese consul and and try to resolve this disappointment about the Japanese business community. And I knew that it's gonna happen. That Japanese market is gonna go down because of that disappointment of not paying attention to Japanese community here. And that's what I know. That's one reason why probably the Japanese government probably feel also disappointed, but not paying attention to their Japanese business community here in the cinema, which is they're one of the first business community that help the economy of the cinema. So that one reason why I mentioned this, because it was brought to my attention twice, and I even strongly suggest to the council to to bring this attention to the governor, the legislature, so that we can sit down. We have a forum and sit down and try to resolve and not having disappointment about forgetting about the Japanese business community because Chinese comes in with big money. Of course, when fresh people comes in and is willing to invest, we welcome anybody to come in and invest in our in the cinema, so that we can revive our ailing economy. And now I know that some U.S. House members and Senate have signed, including I'm very surprised that even Guam signed to eliminate this visa waiver for the cinema. And I understand that's why the cinema petitioned this in the past to have this waiver, because it's it's more faster and more attractive to Chinese market to come to the cinema. I understand that national security is very important, but I know that national security be put aside and let the authority deal with that. And I asked Chamber of Commerce, the hotel, and everyone involved, even MBA, to coordinate maybe perhaps a forum with the elected leaders, because even I know that you guys did this kind of forum down in the house, but I've seen in the past when different presentation are not in one whole presentation, which is I'm hoping that everyone will be on the same page so that we can, whatever disagreement is, we can come up to a good resolution so that everyone will be on the same page in order for this. Because I know that the US, when they see leadership that are not in the same page, they will not, no, considered in a very timely manner. For example, when Governor Fito went down to the US to talk about what is in the covenant, he lost that because he went there alone without the full leadership in the cinema. Of course, when we're not in one page, very slim chances of having or maybe US will consider our request, because I know that we had problem in the past, abuse. There's so much abuses in the past when we have our own immigration. Maybe that's one of the reason why he didn't win that. But I have a feeling that if the House, the Senate, and maybe perhaps Hotel Association, MBA, and Chamber of Commerce goes together with the governor down and talk about what is what is written in the covenant that we have. They're giving us the self-government, right? But how can we rely on our self-government if they're controlling labor, which in fact they know that we don't have the workforce here in the cinema. But like I said, I appreciate this forum, but I think the hotel and the Chamber of Commerce with MBS should coordinate a forum with all elected officials, because even if the legislature is supporting and to find solution to support and not having the U.S. Congress, uh, you know, change that visa waiver, because one executive branch is against it. I don't know whether they can consider, continue to give us that visa waiver. Maybe they'll continue. They will pass a what is that visa? B1, B2 visa, and that kind of visa is that attractive to the Chinese market? I believe it's not, because if it's attractive, you hotel and Chamber of Commerce will not coming over here and seeking support from the legislature to support not having that kind of visa, because it will not be attractive for the Chinese market to come over here other than the visa waiver. So I'm not saying this is wrong. This is good because you're educating us, legislature, where we're gonna go from here. But my recommendation is, I think we should come together. All elected officials come together with Chamber of Commerce, Hotel Association, and MBA, and sit down and come to a one solution. Whether someone disagree with it, but if that's the only way to bring that this Chinese market and revive our economy, I believe that will be a good start. Because I know even US, they have this kind of incentive program, the EV5, because to build the economy, any foreign national that willing to invest and they're qualified to that, they will go through that. The same thing as us here. We to bring investor, we have this QC program. So like I said, if everyone is not in one page, even we continue to discuss this on a separate forum, my opinion is not going to happen. But if everyone come together as a strong voice to oppose that B1, B2 visa, I believe we're going to be hurt. But if everyone is on different kind of different page, I remember, like I mentioned earlier, Fitio went down. But if everyone, I have strong feeling that if everyone is in one page, probably that will be considered, because I understand that national security is very important, but they have their own. Let them deal with that. Elected officials should deal with the economy, not interfere with any or get into something that is not appropriate for us to discourage potential investors to come and invest. Most especially people that are already here. You know, as much as possible, let's try to continue to welcome them and continue to make revenue, because when it comes to cinema budget, is a very headache process. We're trying our very best. Like, for example, me from the second senatorial district, I know that we have issue in this last budget. We don't have money, and we try our very best to. And I appreciate the Senate side to consider what is taken away from Tinian. And like I said, the more we're business friendly to business community here, and to be friendly with our with tourists coming over here to our Commonwealth, I think the better we're gonna be. And I said I thank you all for coming over here and sharing your you know your concern. It's also our biggest concern, because we want more revenue so that we can accommodate our departments, our senatorial district, with what is needed for them to get to continue to deliver the best service to our general public. And again, thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. I'll recognize Senator Magofnia.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon. Thank you again, Chamber and HANMI, for coming in today to, as he said, start the dialogue. This is a great start, and thank you for putting together, the some of the issues and concerns that you guys are facing, as well as the recommendations. As I sit here and I listen to some of the information that you guys are providing us, processing that and digesting, I hear Mr. Guerrero speaking about the military tourism, right? And as you said, there may be 5,000 personnel on Guam that that are going on these trips and stuff, and that brings me to the question, where what is it that the CNMI can offer that is completely different and unique in experience that Guam doesn't have, right? Because the way they see it is Saipan is just a small scale of Guam, and maybe just a little bit more slow pace. So I think this is where we need, as a destination, CNMI needs to, I guess, determine what that is, so that we can properly promote and market ourselves as something different from Guam, so that we can entice that particular tourism, right, to come to the CNMI instead of going to Palau or Fiji or wherever else. So I think that's something that we probably should prioritize and figure out what is it about the CNMI that's unique, so that we can start. I think it goes in line with what he's saying. I think if we're all on the same page, right, then we can all, all the hotels and MVA can promote the same message out there. We talk about Singapore and other market sources that we would like to invite. Again, as you say, Mr. Guerrero, these people from those places are affluent and they have the money to spend. So if they're going to come to a destination nation such as the CNMI, they want to they have high standards, and they would like to experience something that they haven't experienced, like in Hawaii, or wherever it is that they travel. So I think this is very important that we ask ourselves, what is it that can make us stand out in our own way, so that we can focus a lot of the time and energy and money resources to promote that. I understand that Korea is now the largest market source for our visitors arriving into the CNMI. I understand that they also have a large population. I'm not sure how MVA or even the hotels are marketing themselves in those regions to try and attract those visitors to come here. But I'm curious to hear what are some of the challenges that the hotels are having currently to help fill those vacant rooms, so that we can better understand. And then I'm bringing up Korea because right now we have ample transportation, right, as far as airlines coming in, so that so I'm thinking that if we have that, then maybe we should focus a little bit more in marketing in Korea so that we can increase that number into the CNMI. Japan is, I hear that we're having a hard time bringing tourists here from Japan, and I understand the exchange rate issue, right? But maybe we need to focus and target more uh, areas in Japan where there's more money to be spent, so that they're not deterred or discouraged to travel into the CNMI because of the exchange rate issue. So just some stuff that we probably need to I don't know. I'm curious, what are the alternatives that the hotels and the businesses here are looking at? Because all things being constant, and especially we know where we stand with the visa waiver, right? Like, what are the plans for the hotels and the businesses to stay afloat and continue to operate without with everything being where it is now? So let's say we lose the visa waiver, like what is plan B for the hotels and the businesses to continue to fill the rooms and continue their businesses? I'm curious to hear what those are. If there are any.
Oh, well, let me just be honest. If you ask us, the HANMI as a backup plan, what if we don't have, only we have a Korean market as it is? Well, no idea. As one thing we have to have is a market diversity. Without that, it's like today I have 100 room and I have only 10 available, 90 rooms, and workforce was 90. That's waste of money, right? So speaking of plan B, if we don't have any other market, then of course we have to make our concentration on the primary market. The thing is that the pie is limited. Only speaking of the HANMI 13 hotel, but we have small minor competitors like Airbnb, Guest House. They are also taking the pie, the pizza, and there are one large pizza. Then we have to share this one, just only the HANMI hotel, 13 hotel, right? However, because of a limitation of the air flight, the seat, even if we make another effort or initiative, it's limited. Then without having the additional international passenger flight, how we can bring the more people? Then we should talk about how we can bring more flight in, at least from the Korea. But the Korea, the airlines, they are now looking at another route because flying I mean, the round trip, it takes at least 10 hours, 4 hours, and 4.5. Then plus the parking here for the transit, right? 10 hours. However, within the 10 hours, if they flew to the Japan, they can make a 3 around trip. Then the load factor is higher, which means that their operating income is huger than flying to CNMI. That's why all the things is not only one, the factor, but it's a combination factor. We need a flight coming in, and we need another market, diverse. And uh, just for your information, even we understand that, the national security, of course, that comes first always. However, at the same time, we have to looking at our people here. All the members of hotel is struggling. Their bottom line, they losing the money. Monthly, $300,000 or $200,000. And the marine sports operator, they close their businesses. They close their shop because simply they don't have the customer, right? And we have DFS here, but they have a several luxury brand. They pulled out. What's the reason? Simply speaking, we don't have enough number of arrival to maintain their operation. And national security comes always first. Let's look at the state. Up to the September this year, there are 800,000 Chinese national tourists to states. And what about here? Even if we don't have a direct flight from China, the arrival number of arrival is greater than the Japanese arrivals. So there is a market, there is a demand. So we should be looking at, because the market used to be our primary market before, then now we have to look into another market. Why? Because, I believe that, CNMA has a very comparative, the edge as a destination for the PRC, right? Because most of the majority of those PRC, as I said at the very beginning, they seldom see the ocean and the beautiful ocean, but we have that one, and we should, market and utilize what we have, and the then again, going back to how much we are, struggling and where we are at for now. Now it's a holiday season. I'm not sure because it's vacation season, holiday season in Korea as well, and even here. And after December, January, and February, the business outlook for second quarter of 2024 is not clear. We are not sure which airlines are gonna continue flying to here, or temporarily suspend again. So this is December to February next year. It's the peak season anyhow. Only speaking of only Korean market, because as I said, it's Christmas and the holiday season, and the vacation. But after that, well, from the March, our the financial difficulty gonna be harder than now. So and speaking of the alternative, when in the event of the current visa waiver is no longer available, I believe it's all about the timing matter. And there was a good gesture from the Senator Schneider, the letter of supporting, I mean, the requesting for EVS tax visa as an alternative the program. So I was wondering, what's the possibility that current visa waiver program gonna be end? Is it really feasible? It gonna be happen? Then yes, the answer is yes, but we don't know when. Then it's a time to put together for another alternative. That is what we recommended EV step, and we are not sure how long does it take to get this one in place. After yep. Okay.
Thank you, Dennis. It's the House meeting I attended virtually. I was in the States doing market research in California and Vegas, seeing how their tourism economy is thriving. I couldn't get a room, almost couldn't get a room in Vegas. It's just packed with people and money. I was so envious because like you had mentioned, all the rest of the world is thriving economically because the tourism is back and people wanted to travel after COVID. It is unfortunate where we're at, and if I may just allow Roman Tudela to just share his thoughts, because at the end of the day, some people look at us here and say these are just big businesses with big assets, multi-million dollar assets on the ground, and kind of who cares, right? But really, at the end of the day, we are raising the flag for the everyday Jose's and Maria out there. When these hotels cut hours or cut wages or hold back raises, that affects the everyday local person that's working and has to take home food. So it's sad. There are a lot of local works out there that are not working full time, less than 40 hours. Our plan B, if any of these hotels shut down or DFS closes forever after 40 some years, they mentioned that time is ticking for them. There'll be hundreds of workers that will be displaced, our people. So again, I just want to remind everyone that this we are raising the flag for everybody, not just big business, but everyone out there. We're their voice, I hope. So if I may ask Roman Tadella Jr. to just share his statement. Thank you, Senate President.
All right, Hafide and Tito. Good afternoon, Senate President De Guerrero, Senator Cruz, Senator Magofnia, and online Senator Hofschneider. I understand that the Chamber and HANMI has emphasized on how the decline and restriction in tourism markets has affected the numbers on hotel occupancy and flight arrivals, and how that decrease in revenue affects business operations in the cinema as a whole. So I hope that with my testimony, I can emphasize more so on our workforce and how that has affected the livelihoods of our residents. So, on behalf of the Society of Human Resource Management CNMI chapter, or SHRM CNMI for short, I went to Della, the current Vice President and incoming 2024 chapter president, would like to bring to your attention the significant challenges that our membership are currently facing as a result of the decline in tourism markets entering the CNMI. So, to provide you some context on the attendance of our organization, SHRM CNMI, or SHRM in general, is the world's largest organization devoted to human resource management. The society serves the needs of HR professionals and advances the interests of HR profession. Founded in 1948, SHRM has more than 250,000 members in over 140 countries and more than 575 affiliated chapters, which the CNMI had joined back in 1997. The scene of mine, known for its picturesque landscapes, vibrant culture, and warm hospitality, has long thrived on tourism as a key economic driver. However, the recent downturn in tourism has had profound implications for our local businesses, industries, and the workforce, impacting the livelihoods of countless residents. Our Sherm CNMI chapter represents a diverse and dedicated group of human resource professionals who play a crucial role in supporting and nurturing our local workforce. The challenges arising from the reduced influx of tourists are manifold and have created a ripple effect across various sectors. The first that I will mention is employment uncertainty. So, the decline in tourism has led to reduced demand in industries such as hospitality, retail, and transportation, resulting in increased uncertainty for employees in these sectors. Our HR professionals in the CNMI are grappling with the complexities of workforce management, including layoffs, furloughs, and addressing the emotional toll on the affected employees. Second is the financial strain on businesses. As supported by my fellow people here, many local businesses, particularly those directly dependent on tourism, are facing financial strain due to decreased revenue. HR leaders in the CNMI are actively engaged in finding innovative solutions to ensure businesses are sustainable, which includes cost cutting measures, renegotiating contracts, and exploring alternative revenue streams. And with this financial strain on business, this leads me to my third sector, which is training and development challenges. The tourism downturn has impacted training and development initiatives within our organizations, With budget constraints, companies are finding it very challenging to invest in employee skill enhancement and career development, which hinders the long-term growth prospects of our local workforce. And lastly, as this has been reiterated in many um, arguments, is mental health and well-being concerns. The economic challenges and uncertainties have taken a toll on the mental health and well-being of all our employees. Our HR professionals in the CNMI are working diligently to implement support systems, counseling services, and wellness programs to address the emotional needs of the workforce during these challenging times. Um, Representing the SHRM CNMI chapter, we recognize the urgent need for collaborative efforts to address these challenges and support the community through these trying times. We like to encourage our stakeholders at all levels to come together to explore innovative solutions, promote economic diversification, and invest in strategies that will revitalize the tourism sector. It's our hope that policymakers such as yourself, our business leaders here today, and the community at large will work in tandem to create a resilient and sustainable future for the CNMI. The SHRM CNMI chapter will remain committed to supporting the local workforce, fostering collaboration, and advocating for the well-being of our community. So thank you, Sidus Mosi and Olamai, for your time and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Tudela, for your remarks. I know the day is getting long in the afternoon, but I do have maybe one or two or three more that I'd like to talk about.
Chris,
Recognize Senator Juthoff Schneider.
thank you, and thank you everyone for a very good presentation. And I apologize that I'm not able to be there and I cannot see the handouts, but I'm seeing a lot of concerns with hotel occupancy rates, and I heard very clear experience hotelers, the gentleman from Crown, about the importance of diversity in tourism. And in this case, we're talking about our visitors from PRC. And I also appreciate Mr. Sol's mention of the Senate Joint Resolution of the EVSTAP. I think it's critical, as what was mentioned earlier, that there has to be an engagement in, and we need to escalate the process so that we can put a finality as to what course of action, whether the administration gonna develop the EVSTAP or they're gonna chime in on the call by some members of the U.S. Congress to just rid off the entire visa waiver program. It's very concerning because the administration went on saying pivoting away from PRC, but there's critical entities that have been very open publicly, namely CPA, that they said they need Chinese tourists, and also MBA came out saying such. So whether there is a disconnect or there's a misconception of the narrative coming from the administration, I don't know. But it seems to me that when the very people, when I'm talking about the Chamber of Commerce and the Hotel Association, are crying and in need of help because of where we're at today and how to rebuild, us in the government, we need to be very, very attentive to their plight because we rely on the business activities. And I believe the president, President Joe Guerrero, or was the gentleman from saying something about cutting work hours in the private sector? We are experiencing that right now with some of our public sector employees of 70-hour pay period. And I tell our constituents, it's 70 hours because the economy is not very strong as it was before, as we all hope for. So that means if the businesses are not able to, are not happy, so to speak, or are not vibrant in their operation, it represents the ability or the inability to remit that gross revenue tax to the almighty Treasury Department. so that we can turn that around to project for the course of the year for the public service and other public programs. So Madam President, and I know Senator Corina, Floor Leader, I call on the Senate to escalate the process of the Senate Joint Resolution, and hopefully the House can chime in as well, and so we can get together in concert with the Hotel Association, SCC, CPA, MVA, and the legislature in both chambers, and really come out with one voice as to what course of action we wanted to take. I do know as far as national security issue, but if you're really worried about that, let's go to let's look at and I'm sorry to say this, we're so worried about here in the CNMI, but you look at Texas and Arizona, and you can draw your conclusion on that. But that's side and separate. Our mission is to work along with the HANMI and SEC to really build the capacity of diversifying the tourism industry, and look to PRC and get the people here that are truly tourists. And I think I appreciate the letter that just came. I think today I just saw it with regards to if the concern is an overstayers and mariners that are traveling to Guam, then remove the CW and just release the EBS TAP, and that's probably the part of the negotiation to the new regs. But let me ask this question, and anybody in the panel can guide us if it hasn't been mentioned, because I haven't read it publicly, but I haven't heard it too mentioned today. Has there been a initiation to engage with the administration with regards to the joint resolution subject?
Senator Hofschneider, this is Joe. Yes, we have shared the same letters that you received back in October, and also today or yesterday, the same letters that we sent to the administration seeking for a dialogue, because we really feel that, as Senator Cruz mentioned, we really need to work together. It's not about politics. This is about our own people, and I say that passionately because I'm a local, born and raised here. That it pains me to see my own relatives suffer because they can't get a job or their hours are about to get cut. And so this really touches everybody. And I know we have hotel representatives here, but this really is affecting everybody, especially the silent voices that I hope I represent here. We represent. So, Senator Hofschneider, did that answer your question? Or?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Guru. But okay, so say for example, the joint resolution passes both chambers and it goes to the governors. What do you want the legislature to do then? As far as, because I'm sure that the president can reach out to the administration. Any of us can reach out to the administration to see. We really need to sit down how we can narrow the gap and really. Because we're supporting, that's a product of a 902 consultation, and the gentle lady who's the presiding officer now in the Senate is very much aware of that panel. So we supported it then, and there's absolutely no way that I'm troubled that if we're not gonna just put that aside, and here we are calling for another to impanel a 902, and this is very critical for the livelihood of our. This particular industry. So I guess guidance and continue close working relationship with the Senate in this case, or the legislature, so that we can get to the next level as far as the EBS TAP option. Is that something that
Yes, Senator, sorry to interrupt, but yes, I think first and foremost, speaking on the same page, Senator Cruz mentioned is important. And the EVS tab, you're correct. That one was a result of the last 902, which national security was a concern, has always been a concern. Since our covenant, we had a national security concern. That's why Article 12 was part of why we have Article 12, because somebody inserted it in the name of national security. So here we are today. We're still, national security is not new. We are as patriotic as any American citizen out there. So we don't take that lightly. But I think at the end of the day, it's finding a balance, speaking together as one first, sitting down and just talking and airing out differences, coming up with solutions, right? It's about solutions. And then moving forward, uh, so we have been advised several years ago when they did a study about this EVS tap that it's going to take over a little over $4 million for U.S. Customs and Border Patrol to implement this electronically in their software system. So they need to pay their vendor, which they contract to a private party, to put this visa into their system, so that when people apply, they basically, the visa electronically tracks and can alert officials for enforcement and so forth. Because right now, discretionary pro, you come in, uh, Washington doesn't know that the citizen necessarily is here from the PRC, but through this visa, before the person leaves, for example, the PRC, they would know and track that person's every move in and out of the CNMI. So that's why the EVS TAP is a very important tool, I think, for national security and for us here. So we hope that that visa alone could resolve a lot of the issues. Yeah, thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Joe. And 4 million seems like a lot for us here in the CNMI, but I like to think that that's something that's achievable, right? To add that additional software is what you're saying, but that's the CBP side. What about us here in the CNMI as a state? Other than the resolution that we have, are we going to put like the recommendations set forth in your letter, the removing the CW? Can you migrate that into the discussion so that the concern of overstayers and boat seekers to Guam be guaranteed?
Yes, of course.
I'm asking because this is something that if we run into, I'll get a chance, talk to the governor. We're gonna push this because that Senate Joe resolution is very critical in terms of its movement to pass through the committee and into the full board.
Yeah, there's even to further that discussion, even perhaps, this was talked about before, a bonding, right? So if a tourist comes in EVS TAP and there's a bonding requirement, the travel agencies will make sure that they are indeed tourists and they do get back on the plane within 14 days. If they overstay, that insurance company is going to pay a lot of money to whoever, right, the CNY government or whoever is the holder of that bond. So these, again, there are tools out there and ways to really prevent bad actors.
Right.
So yeah, we need to discuss. It's the details in the devil's in the details, or we need to get into the weeds. But it's very doable, and I think we can create a safe environment for everybody.
All right, and I'm gonna yield after this my last statement, Madam President, and to the business community and the hotel. The push right now, if you read the paper, is we're trying to get back on track with our economy, but there's also a push for tax increase from some members of the legislature, and I don't know how that's going to work in a very volatile situation we're in. So I cannot overemphasize and underscore the need to get a finality on this EBS TAP solution option. So we're ready to engage. I'm sure I'm going to ask my colleagues that are chimed in on this meeting that I'm sure they're all supporting that, and but we need to continue on and move from there. I yield back, Madam President, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Senator Hofschneider, for your engaging conversation with the association's members. Recognize Senator Magofnia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to share some updates on possibly progress. I was fortunate enough to attend the meeting between the CPA board members and MVA board members yesterday. And I noticed that, we have a couple of the board members from MVA here. So without giving too much details as to what discussions were made in the meeting yesterday, I just wanted to share with you guys that that MVA, the board of directors of MVA and CPA are going to create a working group, right? So that they can meet regularly on a weekly, monthly basis, whatever they decide to do to to understand what the needs are from MVA and vice versa, and to put those discussions into action so that they can really move forward and help, the tourism industry. And in what Senator Cruz is saying, and I think we are all in agreement here that it's important that we have all the stakeholders, be a part of that working group, right? So that we're not just hearing it from MVA, we're also hearing it from HANMI, we're hearing it from the chamber, and then the administration as well, so that we can all be on the same page and understand what actions need to be taken so that we can move together in parallel and not, have obstacles, if you would, so I think that's the information that I would like to share, that there is an update on progress with both CPA and MVA. I know that in one of the topics yesterday, the CPA is actually looking into the implementation of the fees that were effective in October, as far as the airport fees, the parking fees, and stuff like that. Whatever that was implemented in October, they are looking at that. They are reevaluating it, and they will come to a better solution to see whether it makes sense to reduce those fees, depending on what their findings are. But that's definitely a step in the right direction, right? Just understanding what kind of challenges the airlines are facing, and potential. The potential of them pulling out of the cinema. We don't want that to happen. So I can share with you today, that is definitely something that both boards are looking at, and they are going to try and make the best decision for everyone. I will, after this meeting, will reach out to the CPA board chair and encourage, Mr. Azuzu to please maybe consider inviting representatives from HANMI, from the chamber, and whoever all the other stakeholders are, the administration, and maybe some representatives from both the Senate and the House, so that we can work collaborative, like it's a collective and collaborative effort, right? So that we are all trying to achieve the same goals. So I just wanted to share that, and Mr. Kichocho or Misashi, if there are more information that you would like to share with everyone who's already here, I'm sure it'll be the Senate President will be okay with that. But I just wanted to throw that out there because Senator Hofschneider brought up the topic of us coming together, right, from the administration to all the stakeholders, and I just wanted to quickly share that there is hope, and I'm very optimistic that with the group of people in those working group that they just created yesterday, that we're going to start seeing progress. But it would make more sense to add to the working group other stakeholders. So I just wanted to share that, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Magofnia. Senator Cruz, do you have any additional comments? You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to repeat again that I think it is important that the elected leaders be seriously involved in this discussion, because I know that it's a matter of U.S. Congress also concerned about Chinese migrating to the island of Guam. I think they're making that as a big issue. And I believe if the elected leaders are seriously involved, it will be a strong voice. Perhaps maybe joint letter, the executive, the president, and the speaker of the house joint letter to request to stay on a visa waiver. Because, like I mentioned, if the Senate or the legislature in support of requesting for to stay within with that visa waiver and not B1, B2 visa, and the executive is not in support of that, I think will be a slim chance of the U.S. Congress considering that. And let's not forget Congressman Kilili. He needs to be also involved in this, from municipal to state to Congressman Kilili, and everyone is involved, because this is a very serious issue that's affecting our tourism industry. And like I mentioned, uh, tourism is main economic driving force here in the cinema. Without that, you mentioned earlier, Mr. Guerrero, the mom and pops. I don't think that one can be, we can stay with mom and pop. I see the presentation you presented this morning, that I think we lose over 500 employees, and that's not good. That's not good for people losing 500 some employees. And I know that we're having problem with CW, with what you call it, parole, and that also is affecting our business, right? When we send people and lack of employees in the business, especially if you have a big restaurant and you don't have the cook to provide the best quality dishes to the tourists. I don't think that will be attractive to a tourist to come back if the cooks are gone. And like I mentioned, I think everyone should be on one page. What I'm saying is, from the executive all the way down to municipal, especially whichever elected official that will make this Congress cancel or not considered removing the visa waiver. That would be a good help. I know that we have a resolution for the 902 talk, but I think everyone understand what executive have mentioned, that I'm hoping that maybe for him to say, yeah, we're going to look into that, but what I'm hearing is not an overnight issue. I understand that's a lot of things to be done there, but I think what we need to be positive with our visitors, because if we are negative to our visitors, I don't think the cinema will be attractive for tourists to come. And like I mentioned, I know that we have issue with national, but let the authority do that. Our job here is to continue to bring tourists to our for economic prosperity. Other than that, I don't know how we're gonna come off to generate revenue. I know that the house are still looking into ways to find revenue generation bill, but not raise tax. Definitely, that will kill not only the businesses, but the members of the general public. So, like I said, Madam President, I'm not. I know you're the president, but perhaps maybe a joint letter, from you, the speaker, and the governor, to see how we can assist in making sure that they don't remove the visa waiver. And I know that's the major concern of the Chamber of Commerce, the Auto Association, and I know MVA. Without that, I remember back then, without the visa waiver, not so much tourists coming over from the mainland China. And I know cinema is attractive by these tourists, because it's only 3 hours flight. And I know on a winter, they go to Singapore or Malaysia because it's warmer place. And I think cinema is one of the best place to take vacation on a winter. I know in winter they stay indoor and they want to go out and have take vacation with the family on to a place that is warmer. So I think if MBA market the cinema, continue to market the cinema with mainland China, I know they're gonna. But negativity from members of the community, and more especially elected official, that will drive these people away and will not never come to the island of the Sinamay. So like I mentioned earlier, if everyone is on one page, if you want economic prosperity, we have to be on one page on this. Everyone should be working together for the betterment of our Commonwealth. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Okay. I'd like to put some perspective in our conversation this afternoon, and also especially for the viewing public, because this is live stream right now for everybody to listen, of why this is so important that this conversation is happening today. I appreciate, Mr. Tudela, your statement. It's quite obvious that whenever household income is affected as a result of loss of paycheck, reduction in hours and work hours, or shutting down of a business, resulting in a loss of work, meaning layoffs possibly, that does affect the mental health of a family, not just financial health. And so the corresponding effects of what happens in the private sector economy is quite obvious of what happens to the public sector that collects those revenues from the private sector industries, that generates those businesses in our local economy. I want to share with everybody a recent letter that was sent to me on September 25th, 2023. It was from CPA asking for exemption from the Department of Transportation. And on this particular letter, it gathered some information. It used data provided by the CNMI Department of Commerce, and also from the Bureau of Economic Analyses, which is the federal government body that produces this kind of economic reports. And in showing those numbers, the values, the effect of the loss of that particular market, the Chinese market, on the CNMI economy, we were reporting 185,526 tourists in 2019. The direct economic impact of that is $126,417,416. The indirect economic impact is $204,796,215. The total economic impact, which is the loss, is $331,213,630. That is way beyond what this government produces on its normal economy. This is serious. We are in dire straits. We are falling into darkness so fast that we need to act quickly. And this is information that is coming from people that gather reports, that data. The significance of producing reports and building the evidence to the federal government why it is necessary. And we have yet to even move into the conversation of the exemption, the waiver of order number 2020-6-1, that puts us into that quota of 24 flights throughout the United States, whereas we're asking for that exemption for our market so that we can have, some sort of relief, the number, head counts of bodies coming here to visit our island, so that we could generate those revenues from those tourist dollars into our economy, and to sustain the jobs, so we don't have to reduce hours, so we don't have to face loss of revenue and reduce government employees 10 hours per paycheck. This is the ripple effect of a dead economy, the ripple effect of the loss of a market. An absent movement quickly while we wait for January 902 consultations, in my opinion, it is now. The urgency is now, that we need to fill the gap of the seriousness of what we are into. The outstanding implementation by the Homeland Security Secretary of the EVS TAP program that is mentioned in this recent letter this afternoon, of how the November 30 missed that point, right, of mentioning in the letter to Washington, Homeland Security, signed by numerous senators, representatives in the US. I read that letter, and I see the reason behind that. And it's understandable. I appreciate your letter too of recognizing the importance of what was raised in the November 30 letter of the events that have happened between the CNMI and the entry of illegals into Guam, which is, it poses national security issues, obviously. And we're all concerned. We are flying the American flag. Under our covenant provision, the United States government has unilateral power over national security. That's a given. And we are concerned, absolutely. And we're not deviating from that either. But the reality is, our economy is dead. We do not have the sufficient revenue to bring everybody up to standard, meaning to give the life that they had once lived before pandemic, before YouTube, before all those disasters and everything else that has happened as we speak today. This is serious. I could see the impact. My concern right now, and this is why I call the urgency of not just waiting to January when we organize for 902, calling for the removal of the discretionary parole absent the implementation of the EVS TAP at the same time. I feel it is very critical that if they should pull the discretionary parole program, immediately implement also the EVS TAP. Do you agree? I think that's the ultimate direct solution right now as we speak with the urgency of what we are facing today here in the Commonwealth. I appreciate your presence this afternoon. I think we had a very good conversation. We understand the dynamics, we understand the importance and the urgency of what is facing us today. We're all in this. Without you, the private sector, there is no economy for the public sector. That's a given. Just this morning, I was talking to a bunch of high school kids, and we were talking about the economy. And I told them, what gives us the economy is the private sector, not the public sector. The public sector collects taxes, which is the government. We impose fees on the private sector. While all of us working citizens, we also pay our taxes to the government. And at the end of the year, we get our tax refunds. We need to protect the private sector industry if we want this government, this Commonwealth to remain competitive, to remain afloat. And we need to bring up the urgency, along with what the senators said this afternoon. Senate Joint Resolution 23-07 that was introduced to accelerate the process of the EVS TAP implementation. And so that we could also communicate with our federal counterparts that if the intent is to remove the discretionary parole, that to make sure that the EVS TAP program is also implemented at the same time, if not sooner. Thank you very much. I think we have a very good conversation. We know where to go from here. And senators, I appreciate your support this afternoon. Thank you so much.